We can't talk about creating heaven on earth without talking about the golden rule. All indigenous wisdom teachings, faith traditions have some form of the golden rule. They are all pointing us to a fundamental practice that leads to creating heaven on earth. I am Reverend Amani Malaika. I'm really glad you're here in the midst of the series on heaven on earth here and now. If you've missed the earlier videos, and I invite you to go back and check them out. The golden rule, right? Which in some form or fashion is treat your fellow human, your beloved kin in this life the way that you want to be treated. Some version of that. And then, of course, there's the platinum rule, which says, treat people how they want to be treated. Because, let's maybe not make all the assumptions. But we're going to get deeper into that. But I wanted to share how many sacred texts and teachings share this common idea. From Judaism, that which is hateful to you, do not do to another. Out of the Talmud. From Buddhism, whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do unto others. From Udana Varga. From Jainism, in happiness and sorrow, in joy and in pain, we should consider every creature as we consider ourselves. From the Mahavira. Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do not unto others that which would cause you pain, if done to you. From the Mahabharata. From Islam, none of you will believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. From Hadith 13. From the Seneca tradition, treat your inferiors as you would be treated by your betters. Written in the 1st century. And finally from Zoroastrianism, do not do to others what is harmful to yourself, which comes from the 15th century BC. This mandate has been given to you and I for as long as we can go back and see, for the most part. And yet, here we are. Here we are, living in a world where the practice isn't manifesting, right? Where we cannot see the result of living by this golden rule. It is baffling to me, really. We've had this instruction probably since the beginning of time. And yet here we are. And you know what? You and I can point to a whole bunch of things around how we got here. History has been very clear. Right? But one of the things that I think points to what might be in the way is one of the most heart-wrenching, horrible consequences of colonialism and patriarchy and supremacy and toxic capitalism, which is the rampant self-hatred and shame that you and I are steeped in inside the culture. Why does this matter in relationship to creating heaven on earth and the golden rule? Well, here's why. Because I don't want you to treat me how you treat yourself. And there are days when I will treat others better than I treat myself. Anybody having that experience? Which is why the golden rule becomes difficult. Because you and I get clouded by this programming that we have been indoctrinated with that perpetuates self-hatred and shame. Unworthiness, not enoughness. Which makes the golden rule problematic, right? Can't even see that treating somebody well is hard to do when you don't know what treating somebody well looks like because you can't treat yourself well. You don't even know necessarily what it is that you want to be experiencing because you are being run by beliefs that are full of shit. So, yes, all faith traditions are trying to lead us to this heaven on earth, to nirvana, to paradise. But the work is in you and I cleaning the lens of misbelief. The work is you and I deprogramming ourselves from what is untrue and actually getting into right relationship with these instructions that have been handed down for centuries, centuries after century after century. The sacred texts, the indigenous teachers, the shamans, the healers have been telling us this forever. So how can you and I finally get to it? What does it mean to do no harm? What does it mean to deeply understand care and love as a verb? That is the golden rule. That is what is required for you and I to be in practice of this golden rule, whatever version you ascribe to or choose to get into relationship with maybe now. So the other instruction that comes in every faith tradition and wisdom teaching of indigenous cultures across time and space and all of the globe and humanity is compassion. I think this is the way you and I get to being in right relationship and harmony with the golden rule. And compassion, as defined in a way that is really clearly not the same as sympathy, right? You and I can look at other people who are suffering or even people we love who are suffering and feel sorry for them. We can even feel sorry for ourselves, right? Someone did you wrong. Someone absolutely did you wrong. Life has done you wrong. Your social location is doing you wrong. Society, all of that can be true. And you can have sympathy for yourself, feel sorry for yourself or others. This is not a practice that leads to heaven on earth. Feeling sorry for, practicing sympathy for, doesn't lead to greater connection, deeper understanding, and the wisdom needed to participate in compassionate, loving kindness. Can you feel the difference? Can you think about a time when maybe somebody felt sorry for you and it didn't feel good? Or the kind of cop-out that you have participated in by feeling sorry for somebody else and leaving it there? Compassion asks for something else. I want to share a quote from Rabbi Rami Shapiro. He says, compassion isn't mealy-mouthed piety. Compassion is the sort that depends on and flows directly from your realization of the true nature of self and other as God, and your capacity to engage both, free from prejudices of the past. It isn't mealy-mouthed piety. It isn't sympathy. It isn't, oh, I'm so sorry. Too bad, so sad. No. Compassion is a practice that rises from recognizing yourself and the other as God, appointed, anointed, created life. Knowing your true nature and the true nature of the other gives rise to real compassion. Engaged compassion Rabbi Rami said, engaging compassion free from prejudices of the past. Let's talk about that for a minute. This word in this context has nothing to do with social prejudice or bias. It's not what I'm talking about. Free from prejudice of the past means that you are engaging compassionately with yourself or someone else, free from whatever story you have about what went down before, about who they've been before, about who you've been before. That you come to the compassion free of that, clear of that, open-hearted, open-minded, able to meet them where they are, able to meet yourself where you are. Because you and I can't get into conscious awareness of our true nature when we are clouded by stories of the past, prejudices of the past, right? If you are stuck in an idea of who you are based on who you've been, you are limiting your experience of your whole true self. Let me give you an example, right? I think I shared in a series recently about struggle I've had with eating disorder and my relationship with food. So I could tell myself a story that I am someone who will always struggle with this. I could tell myself a story that my nature is flawed because I've had this issue. I could tell myself a story that maybe I don't have the capacity to meet life without armoring myself or numbing myself, right? That I'm not strong enough, right? That I'm too weak. What story do you have about who you are that is keeping you from meeting yourself compassionately and fully, allowing yourself to come into being in a fuller, greater way than you've allowed before? That was maybe even possible before because you've got this story. So as I meet myself compassionately, like, wow, the struggle of my past, the behavior of my past was in place so that I could cope and comfort with deep pain, right? With trauma, with some bullshit experiences that led me to guard and armor and numb what felt too big to hold. But as I lovingly hold that and forgive myself, I make it possible to open myself to a greater experience of my own self. Like, yes, that was true. That was a thing I did. That was a way I felt. That was a misunderstanding I had about my capacity to meet life. But as I sit in compassion with that and get curious and willing to open my mind and my heart to a greater possibility and discover more of my true nature, that changes. That is compassion in action. How might you bring that to your own self? Because you know what happens from there, as we get closer to being able to practice the golden rule, is because I have done that work with myself, I now have a greater sense of compassion for other folks who are struggling with behavior, habit, addiction that is numbing, guarding, disconnecting, limiting who they are able to show up as. Now the golden rule becomes more possible. Now that I am treating myself with greater compassion. Now I can treat someone else that way because now I am treating myself in a way that I want to be treated, that I now understand is even possible. This, my friends, is spiritual living. This, my friends, is spiritual practice. Are you with me? So compassion. Compassion is one of our 5 C's, one of the principles needed to manifest love and action, to manifest heaven here on earth. And all of the faith traditions, all of the indigenous wisdom traditions are leading you and I there. So, very specifically for your practice this week, here's what I want you to get into. I want you to identify a relationship or situation in your life that is challenging. Then I want you to do the practice like Rabbi Rami Shapiro said. I want you to look at that situation, begin to understand that situation or relationship through the lens of your true nature, through the lens of their true nature as divine emanations of the Holy Blessed One. And when you do that, do it in meditation, do it in reflection, do it in contemplation, do it through your journaling practice, whatever works for you to really center yourself. Like when I know myself to be a divine emanation of the One, when I know that my inherent nature is good, when I know that their inherent nature is good and divinely made, how would it change how you engage in that relationship? And then let yourself be moved in right action around that. The courage challenge this week. It starts with the self. Compassion starts with the self. As you develop greater and greater self-compassion, your capacity to practice compassion with others grows. That's just how it works. So, I want you to find something you are harshly judging yourself about. And I want you to take that into compassionate inquiry. I want you to look through the lens of your true nature at whatever this is that you are judging yourself about. And I want you to begin to understand, deeply understand, the pain point behind it. And then maybe go back to your mantra that I offered earlier in this series and begin to lovingly attend to that pain point through a simple mantra or affirmation statement. But you find a way to lovingly attend to that pain point that you have understood deeper than what you've been judging. I love you so much. I am so thrilled to be co-creating heaven on earth with you. Blessings.